Hello, welcome to our semi-regular board game panel discussion with all of our friends.
Yes, here we are.
Here we are. So I'm Anthony.
And I'm Francis.
And we are at Lab Games. Today we're joined by, we'll start out with Branden.
Hey, it's Branden with All Aboard Gamer. Lexi's not here, as you can see. Just me flying solo today.
All right, Allie.
I am Allie from the Family Meeple. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube.
And finally, Mr. Gary.
Hey, what's happening? I'm Gary, also known as Fetigator. Come to you from Indianapolis, Indiana, and just happy to be here and talk about some older games that, some of these I think we're going to talk about I haven't heard about, and I would like to hear, and hope you'll enjoy mine.
All right.
What's funny is Gary is one of the, in my opinion, he's one of the more well-versed board game hobbyists, right?
Yes.
Who doesn't have a channel.
Like I said, I just like to float in and the different people's, things.
Like I can name any game within the last 10 to 15 years. And Gary's like, oh yeah, I know that. It was designed by this guy. It was a sequel to this
and
game.
And here's like another story about it.
And I'm like, why are you not doing content? Okay.
I really like to get into, I deep
it's
dive
because when
into
you do
these
content,
things, so.
you don't have time to deep dive. That's why.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
So
I'm the guy behind the guy.
Yes, that's very true.
You need to be the guy soon, though. We gotta fix that. We gotta fix that. Tonight, our topic is we're not talking about crowdfunding. We're not talking about the hotness games. We are talking about games that were published pre-2018.
Yes, which is a I don't know. That's not as like a fancy of a title.
It's not.
It's like the used to be hotness.
The more than 5 years ago.
The now the notness.
Yeah, the notness.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? It's like 5 years ago. You're like, oh, wow, I forgot about that game. That was just 5 years ago, and it seems like ancient.
But yeah, when we're going and looking for games, I'm like, man, this is an old game. And I'm like, no, it's not.
It's not that old. Yeah.
It's like 2015.
But that's what happens, right? And that's what I think in these panels, we end up talking about like new games and games that are out, games we're playing, and we're sort of just inundated and frankly overwhelmed sometimes by all the new stuff that comes out. And so when we take a minute to actually look at our collections, we're like, wow, that was a really good game that came out back in the day 5 years ago.
Yeah, which is it's kind of our curse, right? That we get to play all the new games, like all of us, right? We get to play all these new games. We know what's coming out. We go out, we jump, we get the new game, we play it. And then you look at your shelf and like, man, I really want to play that game from like 6 years ago. I want to get that back to the table. I wanted to play
Underwater Cities, which is not the game I picked.
Spoiler, she didn't pick that for this episode.
But I've been wanting to play that game for like probably 4 years.
And this is no lie. She asks at least
once or twice,
once a month. Hey, can we play Underwater Cities with the expansion? I'm like, yeah, we'll get to it. Yeah. And then it's like I look at the stack of games we have, like review copies, and I'm just like, it's not happening this year. No. So maybe next year.
That game's so good.
It is really good. We have the expansion too. Yeah. It has like the upgraded player board.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna find a way to play it.
So we will get to it, and then we will cover it at some point. So all right.
I think it's on Yukata. We could play it, Francis.
Okay, thank you.
You should do that.
We should
online.
Do that. I know.
Yeah, you should definitely
do that. All right, we'll make a date.
Cool. Yeah, definitely. All right, so Branden, we're going to start with you tonight. What game do you want to cover first?
Oh, I would like to cover a game from 2007. It's been reprinted since then, but the original copy that I have is from Mayday, which Mayfair, is it Mayday or Mayfair? The one that's defunct with the shield. It is.
I think that's Mayfair.
Mayfair. That's what I thought. Yeah, Mayfair games. My box. This is actually the most beat up game in our collection. It has a big split in the back. It's traveled with me for the last 16 years. And this game actually introduced me to the artwork of Michael Menzel, which I didn't find out, of course, until much later. But I love this board on this in this game, and the reason I love it is because later on I discovered, there's artists that do these things, and Michael Menzel, who's done Legends of Andor and the Robin Hood Adventures game that just came out. In fact, I think he designed that and did the artwork for that one. I think. Don't quote me on that, but. Yeah, this is it's a basic worker placement game, and it actually has, and people pick on it, the gimmick. The round counter is actually the cathedral that you are building out of wooden blocks. It's actually the cathedral that should have been in Hamlet. It is the church that should have been in Hamlet, and every time I look at Hamlet, I think about that church, and I love Mighty Boards, and they do a good job, but you know, if this was back in 2007, I don't see why they couldn't have done that. But that's what I love about this particular game. And you have workers. And one of the neat things about this is how the master builder works on this track down here at the bottom. There's a timer. And basically, it's like a bid mechanism. You have to pay more money to place your master builders out earlier than everybody else. And so it becomes this kind of tug of war, this little push and pull. And then if you pass and everybody else passes, then it gets a little cheaper. And then, but if it gets too cheap, then your opponents are going to jump in and take that master builder spot, because those master builders can really beef up the action and beef up the spots around the board. But it's a basic worker placement game. You're getting, stone, you're getting wood, you're getting all these different things, and you're building the cathedral. But the cathedral, the pieces are your round tracker, and there's 6 pieces. And so that makes it really neat. There's events in the game that come out. I remember when Lexi was just getting into the hobby, I always talk about Descent Journeys in the Dark 2nd edition. And that definitely was the game that kind of got us into it, got her into it for sure. But this is a game that as soon as I realized that she liked Descent, I ran to the storage and grabbed this game and brought it out and learned it again and played it with her. And she loved it. This was one of the first stand up at the table, like stand up moments. She had like 20 some points, and I ended up, cause you score at the end, like as you go, or you score at the end. And so you're moving the victory point tracker around the board at the end of the game. And I beat her by 2 points, and she jumped up and screamed, and it was just one of those big moments. So this game has a lot of nostalgia for me, and I'll probably never get rid of it. And I say probably because it's like, well, if I lose it in a flood or a fire, then I've lost it. But I don't intend on ever getting rid of this, because it has just so many memories. It's the reason we hold on to Descent. But I always liked this little gimmicky mechanism, because it actually felt thematic. I've never read the books. I've heard the books are boring, but that's just opinions that I've heard. I've never actually read them. Reading about medieval life and things like that, I'm not sure if that's everybody's bag, but Ken Follett is not the designer. It's actually designed by Michael Reineck. And when I looked up Michael Reineck, I thought I recognized the name. And everybody thinks Merlin, you think Stefan Feld. And that's obvious. I mean, Stefan Feld is a big name. We know that. But the name right underneath that co-designed this with Stefan is Michael Reineck. And Merlin is one of my favorite Euro games of all time. It's right up here on the shelf. And when you look up Stefan, Stefan Stadler, he did a couple of different games as well, like Cuba. And what else did he do? He did Funfair, but that's the 2010 Funfair, not the 2021 Funfair.
Unfair.
Yeah, but he did Fortuna and some other games that people know about. But it's nice to see that they've designed other games too, especially Michael Reineck, and the fact that he's got his name on Merlin. So it's a well-designed game. The artwork is really, really nice. I like the graphic design. Michael Menzel, of course, did a great job. And this goes back 16 years, and the game still holds up. In fact, Thames and Cosmos reprinted it, and they haven't changed the cover. It still looks like that, but right down here, instead of seeing like the one pillar, there's that blue Cosmos band. So you can still get this game, and it's because it's a good game. They reprinted it, and they still have it printed, I'm pretty sure. And it's a really good one. So if you really like Stone Age, if you like classic worker placement, medieval type stuff, if you like Hamlet, Pillars of the Earth is pretty clever. It's not just your standard worker placement stuff. The events can affect different positions and knock things out. The bidding, like I said, with the master builder is really, really clever. It's a great game, and I really like it. And the fact that it's 16 years old and it still holds up, it still gets to the table every now and then, is a testament that age before beauty, baby. Age before beauty. Which Gary knows all about. So Gary,
that's right. Baby face.
I've heard a lot about this game. I just have never played it. I haven't
played that one either.
I don't know the books. I did try the video game. There's a video game that was put out not too long ago. It's more of a narrative sort of like story adventure game. I got bored, so after about 20 minutes, I was like, "Yeah, just not for me." But apparently, people who love the lore and love that sort of setting, probably get a little bit more out of the game.
Right, and most people don't know that there was actually a follow-up game called the Column of Fire. It's in an orange box, That one's harder to find. It has a lower rating. I haven't tried that one just because, and I know I'm being snobby with the rating. It's like, oh, it's got a lower rating. It must not be as good of a game. To be fair, I haven't tried it, but you can't find it anywhere. It's very difficult to find that one. But Pillars of the Earth was kind of the first one in that series. But they do follow the books of Ken Follett. But this is it's like the Matrix. The first one is the best. Forget the other one.
Yeah, they kind of they go off the rails.
Right. Yeah. So that's my first game, Pillars of the Earth.
Awesome, excellent. I'm intrigued. I do like the art. I did like Legends of Andor purely because of the art. That's what drew me to that game.
Oh, that looks nice.
Yeah, it's so pretty.
Yeah. Like it looks very similar to the map of Andor, right? Because it's just that it's like almost like storybook art you can kind of step into.
Right.
And that's the whole theme, not to go off on Andor, but that was the whole theme of that game. It's you play a story is what you do.
Yep.
So cool, really good stuff. All right, Allie, you want to jump in next?
Sure. So the first one that I have to talk about, I actually have mine out here if I don't knock them down, is
there you go.
Dingo's Dreams. And this is a Ryan Lockett game. Move it back here. So this is Dingo's Dreams. It is artwork by Ryan Lockett, but it's actually designed by Alf Siegert. So it's not a Ryan Lockett design, but it is a Red Raven Games production. So Dingo's Dreams is a bingo mechanic game, which I've found that I actually really like, which you don't find in a lot of games. And so each player will have these set of tiles, and you'll place them all out in a 5x5 grid with the landscape sides up. And there's, I think, 5 different colors and 5 different landscapes. And everyone has them in a different pattern. But what you'll have is these like pattern cards. If you go to the next picture maybe, or one back from
This one
there.
here?
No, the next one.
This one?
No. The one
This
in the
one?
middle.
Oh, that
There
one.
we go, that one. Yeah, that one there. So you have each game or each round of the game, you'll have that card that you see on the table where it has like little circles in certain locations, and your goal is to be able to flip your tiles and get your animal right side up in those locations. And so each round you'll flip one of the cards up, and in that one you'll see like Silver Ocean. So everyone flips their Silver Ocean tile over to the animal side. And then you're going to have one extra tile, and you'll slide it in, kind of like Labyrinth if you've played Labyrinth, but you can slide it in from either side or the top or the bottom, and pushes everything up. And so another tile will come out. And so you're trying to maneuver your rows and columns so that you have your animal tiles right side up in those spaces.
Okay.
And you'll play over either like 3 or 5 rounds, and it's like best out of 3 or best out of 5. But it's just a super light game, definitely like an abstract strategy game with this bingo mechanic where you could get lucky and have everything except for one, and the next one that gets drawn just happens to be the exact one that you need, and then you win the round with that. But it's one that we really enjoy. It plays really quickly. The artwork is absolutely beautiful because it's Ryan Lockett. And this is one that's also on Board Game Arena. So if you are interested in trying it out, you can try it out on Board Game Arena. It plays really quick, really simple game, lots of fun. And it was 2016 is when this one came out.
Oh, nice.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Dingo ate your baby.
Yeah, the Dingo did eat your baby.
Was that like one of
That's all
Lockett's-
Seinfeld.
Was that like one of his first games?
Well, it wasn't.
Well,
I
it's
guess
not a
not.
Ryan Lockett game.
He just
Oh,
made the
sorry.
art, right?
Oh,
he just did the
art.
artwork.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
it's Red Raven,
Siegert.
and it's Ryan Lockett
Oh.
art, but it's Alf Siegert is the designer.
Oh, so he didn't design it. He just did the art for it, but published it as well.
Yep. He was a
Okay.
publisher and artist.
I gotcha. Okay.
But yeah, it's one of his small box games, so it's the same size as if you've had like Rome or Artifacts Inc. It's that same box size. So there's
Gotcha.
just these little games, and I love all 3 of those from Ryan Lockett from Red Raven.
Okay.
That's cool.
Did he design those other ones?
You forgot Haven. Haven's another one that's published by Ryan, art by Ryan, but it's designed by Alf Siegert, and it's in a little square box.
Yeah, I haven't played Haven.
Haven's a lesser known one, but it's a really good 2-player game.
Yeah, I haven't played that one, but Rome is awesome. It's
Yes.
really good. It's like a area majority game, but it's
Yeah.
also like this spatial puzzle. So you have these cards out in front of you, and depending on where you're sitting at on the table, your perspective of where you're going to place things out from your cards is different. And then you're trying to get the most of your markers on a card, and then you get to claim it, and then you get to use that then on future turns. And the person, I think it's first to get 8 cards collected or something like that. And then Artifacts Inc. is it's like a dice worker placement tableau building game.
Okay.
Very cool.
Yep. And Artifacts Inc. has a solo mode that was designed by Ryan Lockett, and Rome has a fan-made solo mode that's pretty good.
Okay.
And Dingo's Dreams does not have a solo mode, but like I said, it's on Board Game Arena, so you can play it there.
Okay. Very
Yeah,
cool.
I think we might have Rome, or we had a prototype.
We do have Rome. We got a
or
prototype
something.
of Rome.
But for some reason, I don't know why we didn't.
He sent us Rome, and then he's like, all right, I'll let you know when you should cover it. And then he never came back.
So we just never covered it.
It's literally sitting on the shelf.
But I
still
think
in
I was
shrink.
curious about how we were going to play it with 2, because it was more of like an area majority thing. So I don't know if it
it works well with 2.
It does? Oh, I don't know then. We'll have to give it a
We'll have to
give it a
crack it out
shot.
one of these days and cover it.
Yeah, I've played it with my mom at 2, and there's a couple different variants in the box that you can do as well, where one of them in like the regular standard mode, you can't stack on top. So once there's a marker on one of the squares, you can't go there, but there's a variant where you can actually stack on top, so that adds a little bit more to it. And then there's these little like artifact tiles, I think that's what they're called, that adds a little bit also. But yeah, my mom and I have played it, and you just sit on opposite sides. Yeah. And so you can kind of see where they're going to go, and you can kind of they can see where you can possibly go. So there's a lot of strategy to it.
Huh.
It's a good one.
Red Raven put that game out? Did Red Raven put that game out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you also have 8-Minute Empire? That's a fun one that Lockett did.
Yep.
Okay.
This one is Rome.
Oh, Rome.
Yeah. Why do I feel like ours is so
ours is big.
Ours is huge.
ROAM.
Yeah,
I've never heard that.
Yeah, go get
Get it. Hold on.
Yeah,
a second.
our Rome box is
This is prototypes.
Yeah. That's cool.
So this is what it looks like.
Yeah. Right.
Noisy. It's got all the metal coins and stuff in it.
They're frog coins. They're beautiful coins.
Yeah.
They're what?
That's interesting.
They're
Yeah,
frogs.
here's what the prototype looked like, by the way. That's why when you said small box, we were like, I don't think so, because this is the
Oh, that's cool.
Oh wow.
That's neat.
Yeah, so you see the size of this box?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not small box.
Yeah.
No, ours is definitely small box game.
Yeah.
I think that's the prototype. But, okay. Cool. Let's jump into. So that sounds really. Now you got me all.
Now we're
interested in playing Atlas.
That's it. Yeah. Close the panel.
We're done with the panel. We're gonna go play this. All right, Gary, you're on.
All right. You've made me big. I'm ready to go.
Yep, you're big.
All right. I'll do show and tell. I'll do Calimala.
Oh,
first.
Calimala, forget it. I'm making you small again.
Calimala, yes.
Making you small again.
That's fine. This came out in 2017, and it was Fabio Lopiano's first game. And I came to know about it. So back when I was doing stuff with Man vs. Meeple, there is a competition in Europe of board game competition. Design your game, bring it by, and they have some fairly bigger designers at this thing. Maybe even guys like Rosenberg and Feld. I can't remember, but there's some bigger guys. And this one won the game, or won the competition.
Oh, wow.
And I remember reading about it. It's like, okay, I'm going to keep my eye on that. In fact, this copy, I think I ordered it. I know I did. I ordered it from Europe at the time because you couldn't get it over here. And I really wanted to play it. And yes, it looks like it was made in, 1817, but it is a really clever game. Now initially came out 3+ players or 3 to 4 players. Since then, Fabio has brought out a 2-player official variant, which I've heard is decent. I haven't played it at 2. In fact, I haven't played this game in a while. Now talking about it, I really want to get it back out and play it again. But he also did Ragusa, Zapotec. He's got Autobahn coming out soon. And he's got one coming out this year at Gen Con called 3 Ring Circus, which you go around the U.S. promoting the circus like in the early 1900s. So that actually sounds kind of cool. Yeah. Anyway, so very. There's a lot of kind of circus games kind of popping up right now. So Calimala basically is, it's at its core, it's got an area majority portion. But the big thing about this game is the action mechanism. And it is this grid, okay? Do you have any of those pictures up there?
Oh, yeah. I will bring them up.
It'll make it easier to explain. So it's got a grid of 9 spaces. And in between each space, let's see, the far right picture there. Yeah, that one.
Okay.
So, and this comes out randomly. You have, you see brick there. Right above that, you have marble. Up above that, you have a wagon. That's to be able to transport goods across Europe there. And you go to towns like Bruges, Troyes, some of these other games. All the other places. You see a ship there. So what you do on your turn is you take one of your discs and you put it between any of be 2 actions, right? You put your disc there. You have to be able to take at least one of the actions. But what you can do is you'll put it there, and you get to take one or both of those actions in any order you want. So some of those actions will be getting goods. Some of those will be like, obviously, transporting. Some will be allowed to donate goods to building the big cathedrals in these towns. And that's how you'll do that. And then you'll have a player board. And which is kind of looks like right next to your picture there, next to Calimala. So you have a player board. So your player board, you put your wood or your marble and that kind of stuff down there, so you know how much you have. There on the side, it shows you different actions you can take. So when you want to ship goods to a different town, you need a trade house. So you'll have to build a trade house. When you have ships, you can ship to the towns that have ports. So that's why you want to get ships. You might have to build a ship. And so what you're going to do is you're going to keep placing these. And there are no rounds, okay? But there are 15 scoring, quote, rounds.
What?
And that is right. So you got the grid there. Right above that, you'll see 3 rows of 5 of scoring rounds. And those are also come out random each game. So here's what happens. So you're putting your disc down. So say I put my disc down, between one of those 2 actions. Then somebody else, Branden, comes and he's like, you know what? I want to do that action too. He puts his disc right on top of mine. He gets to take those actions. And then I also, which I'm underneath, I get to take those actions again. So you keep stacking. Yeah. So if you're kind of one of the... If there's a hot spot, you kind of want to get there fast because you're going to get to score that at least 3 times, right? Now, if you have one or 2 white discs. If you put a white disc down, that means you get to take both actions twice if you want. But as they move down, it's just a one-time thing. You don't get to keep reactivating that disc. But if you have a colored disc, you keep reactivating. Then, say there's 3 discs and somebody puts a 4th disc on top. Okay, they'll take their action. The second player may take their action, and the third disc will take the action. It might be all 3 of your discs, too, by the way. So you just keep taking the actions. That 4th disc on the bottom moves all the way up to the very top, far left, scoring, right? And you score that round. So you see all those cubes to your right. You're shipping your goods there, and so it's going to be area majorities. So you can kind of start to see what's coming up ahead of time. What town might be scored, what cathedral might be scored, what art might be scored. You can't really see them here, but there's spaces for like art. And that's how you do. So it's really interesting because the points on the majority are like first place gets 2, second place gets 1 point, third place gets 0 points or something like that. I forget all the scoring. So there's no really big reason to like build up a huge engine because you might get stuck behind because people have been scoring all this whole time. So it kind of just keeps the game moving. But I will say once this game gets flowing, it only takes about 60 minutes, maybe 75 once you get going. But it's super fun. It's easy. If you can't take an action, there's cards that allow you can take cards. So you always get to do something. So you're not kind of like just stuck. And you can hold those in the hand and play those at any time.
Right. So when you get the stack of 4, and now that third one or the 4th one at the bottom goes up, and it basically triggers that scoring.
Right.
Do all the other do all the other tokens go back, or
No, they
do
stay
all
there.
Stay out
They
there?
stay
Even
there.
those
So
3.
yeah,
So somebody comes and puts a 4th one.
right?
You're scoring
then it goes again.
Holy moly! Okay.
So what you got to really so it's like you don't want to like sit there like I'm going to get a bunch of wood and a marble. No, you just really want to be working to where you're kind of trying to score, maybe the next 2 or 3 coming up, because I tell you, you get down to that bottom row, all of a sudden it starts going fast. You're
I can see why this was probably 3+. To begin with, just because you need that interaction.
You need more people.
Otherwise, you're just all doing different stuff, and it'll never score.
Yeah. You're not gonna trigger as many extra scorings.
But I meant to check the 2-player variant. It is an official variant.
Now,
I don't. There may be like an AI. Like
there's gotta be.
I think that's exactly what be happening there to make it work. But
anytime you have that area,
or reducing the number of the stack, right? So maybe it's 3 instead of 4.
Possibly, yes.
Or something like that.
I'll just have to go check.
Yeah.
But I will say it is dry. I think it's dry looking. That's what I should say.
Yes.
But it's dry looking. I would like for them to kind of redo a graphic design and really kind of make it nicer.
Yeah.
Put in different rules, that kind of really suit. But it is really a fun game. I really, really do enjoy it. It's kind of been lost in the shuffle, but if you can get a hold of it, it's out of print.
About this, like you were talking about this, like I think in 2017, and it was one that we wanted to try it because you were talking about it so much. But like every time we went to look at it, it was like, we can't.
we can't do the 3-player plus. Doesn't work.
It's like Fantasy Realms when it first came out. I was like, you guys got to get Fantasy Realms. Oh, it's 3 players.
3 players, but
we bought it anyway. We got it anyway.
Yeah.
We got it anyway.
Right.
The new one I think plays.
There's a 2-player variant.
We bought the new one.
Is there?
Yep.
Yeah.
The deluxe one. Yeah.
And the deluxe one.
Yeah. So we have it's all new art and everything. It's really nice looking.
That's like one of my favorite games.
It's a great game to have.
It's another Gary Great.
Yeah. Gary doesn't steer us wrong. I'm telling you. Watch his channel.
We played that when you guys rolled into town for Gen Con. We're like, let's play some Fantasy Realms and Batman Love Letter.
Batman Love Letter. We played both of those. Enjoyed both. That was how we kicked off Gen Con that year. At Gary's house. Before Gary's like, all right, I'm leaving. So
I'm out.
Thanks for stopping by. It was great. Awesome. All right, cool. That's Calimala. Awesome. All right. Thanks. So why don't you go ahead and do yours?
All right. Excellent. So I have a game, which I believe is also from the year 2017, and that is Ancient Artifacts.
Or Alien Artifacts.
Alien Artifacts.
Earlier tonight, she referred to it as Ancient Aliens.
I just love
let me pull up that game, and I'm like,
that's the Discovery. That's the Discovery show or the History show.
Yeah. I'm like, that's not the one. Sorry.
Alien Artifacts.
Alien Artifacts. There you go.
There it is. So this was an interesting one. Again, I think like a lot of my favorite games, I have like a whole journey story about, and so this was no different, right? So this was a game we picked up. I think it was at Gen Con. One of those years, I guess, was probably 2017. And it's a Portal game. And they had like this huge display, and Ignacio's there, and they had like the alien artifacts all over the place. And I mean, obviously, I looked at it; it was attractive, but there was a lot of chatter about it because people were like not into it.
Yeah.
They were not happy with it. They were playing
for whatever reason.
Well, I know exactly why. I'll tell you. I'll get into that because it's probably the reason I enjoy this game so much. So this game is marketed as a 4X game, but there's some I won't say speculation, but there's some discussion about whether or not it's truly a 4X game because it was marketed as a 4X game that you can play in under 60 minutes. But really, what it is a really unique tableau builder and resource management game. And it's very light on the extermination X, which is what a lot of people like in their 4X games. Like if you had a pie chart of 4X, what do you prefer? I think a lot of people really like the heavy exploitation extermination, right?
Yeah,
interaction.
Probably the TI people, they like the big battles, the big space battles.
This is not a game where you're going to have a ton of player interaction unless you're really going after each other. Yeah. It's not necessary to play or win the game. So
you have to do it.
Yes.
But
there are AI ships that come out that you can destroy if you want to in order to get what you want to do. But here's the thing. So the thing that makes this game cool is it's really like a card game that you're building this tableau, and do you have some pictures of it? I think?
Yeah, keep going.
And so you've got individual factions that you play, and each faction has a faction board, and that board is going to be your tableau. And you're looking to bring out cards that some of them are like planets, some of them are going to be they're going to help your infrastructure, like your corporation, and then others are going to be ships. And those ships can go on missions, or they can go destroy other things. The planets can be used. You can exploit them purely for like end game points, or you can, I guess, thematically like habitate them or something like that. So you're using them for their passive bonuses.
Yes.
And what's going to happen when you get 3 cards to play, and these are resource cards, and you can see them here on the screen. And you have a choice of whether you want to use the top or the bottom. So you want to use the resources on the top or the resources on the bottom. Those resources will allow you to purchase additional cards to put into your tableau, and those or spend based on the cards that are in your tableau to do other things like upgrade ships and do things that planets let you do. But this is one of those games that as you play, the more you play, you're looking to your tableau to figure out what more can I do that I couldn't do at the beginning of the game. So like your moves are getting more powerful. You're maximizing what you're able to do on your turn because the cost of doing things is so much cheaper. And then all the while you're making these decisions to flip the cards. So the cards are dual-sided. So like your planet cards on one side will be like passive bonuses that planets will get you. And then on the flip side of them, you can decide to like exploit that planet, and now you're going to score it at the end of the game.
Yeah, you have to decide when you buy that card which side of your tableau you want to put it on, the left or the right, and that'll determine what side the card goes, and that determines how you're going to, whether the ship is going to become sort of an infrastructure ship in your fleet, or is it an attack vessel in your fleet.
Right.
So it's either tactical or strategic for all 3 categories, because you got one for the planets, you got one for technologies, and you have one for your ships.
Exactly. And then you'll see, like, you can kind of see the cards here. You see like the darker side and then the lighter side. And the lighter side is going to be like your logistics type of side that's like passive stuff. And then your dark side is either going to be endgame scoring, which you can kind of see on like that blue card.
That's the technology.
Basically tell you like for your tech, like you'll get this number of points for having this many of this symbol
or type of ship,
or whatever. So it's this, as you're playing, the way it feels is it's this kind of delicate balance of I need to maximize what I've got in my tableau so that I can get the really good stuff at a discounted like rate or something. But then towards the end of the game, you really need to shift your strategy to make sure that you're bringing out the kind of point scoring cards that are going to get you points at the end of the game when it's time to score your tableau.
Yep.
So it's really, really unique. It plays very quickly, especially once everybody knows how to play. But that being said, I think you learn it pretty quickly too. But there is a lot of management in terms of looking at your tableau, knowing what you're capable of doing for that game, because you're building a different tableau every time. The different factions have different capabilities.
Yeah, they're all asymmetric.
Asymmetric. And again, a little bit up in the air, because I think, again, a lot of people were looking for a real I'm coming at you sort of 4X kind of experience. And this is a 4X done in a very different way. But for me, it was like a very palatable one. I really enjoyed it because I love building.
It was a tableau builder, and it's hard. That's all it was. It's just a card game.
Yeah.
And it replicates the feel of because you have to make those decisions on what you want to do, whether it's an infrastructure thing for long term, or is it something I need right now and I can grab those resources. And you don't have to fight each other. That was the big thing. You can. Yeah. I can attack her fleet, but the penalties aren't bad. But what happens is that's how you get these these alien artifacts, and that's not what the game is named on. It's literally one deck of cards that are the artifacts that you can get by doing combat. But they're really powerful when you get them. So it goes in your, and it gives you this like one time.
But they're like satisfyingly powerful.
Yeah,
like it's really like they're like, yes, this cool thing that I found.
Because they're not super easy to get, but when you get them, it kind of pays off. And they have
I like that they have the AI deck of ships. So you don't have to go after each other. You can do your missions by going out and getting those other ships. Oh, the defense I think is what you can use too. So your ships can either go on missions to like fight other ships, or you can use them as defensive, like your fleet. So like if Anthony wants to attack my fleet, now I have a ship that's actually a defense ship.
Yeah, there's offensive vessels, defensive vessels. Like every ship is different. So it's a lot of unique shit. Really good art. You didn't want this game at all. I'll be straight up.
That's not true.
Not at Gen Con. Well, let me explain. before you? I remember it clearly because it was a space game, and you immediately shut down when it comes to space games. At least you did then. So I'm like, oh, I want this space game because I thought the box looked really cool. And I'm like, I want this space game. And you're like, all right, I guess so. Because number one, here's the deal. Space game 4X. She's like, nope.
I know, but it had a pretty box.
It did. But you were like, nope. And I was like, I want this space game because I like space. And I didn't think, and then it turned out to be a tableau, and she ended up liking it more than I did. I like the game, but she loves the game. Like it's a good game, but she absolutely loves it. Okay. But
I'm
a sucker for space.
Definitely, my expectations were definitely
blown away. She was like, that was so good. And I was like, okay. I mean, Portal could be hit or miss.
They're hit or miss.
That's actually very interesting because this was a game I was looking at, and I kept seeing all of that negativity about it. And I'm like, well, I don't know if I want a space game that's just a card game in that big of a box.
It
is. I'm not sure how full that box is.
It's like 200 cards. Yeah.
Oh, really? It's a lot of cards.
Yeah,
it's a lot of cards, but that box did not need to be as big as it is.
Right. So I kind of steered clear of it, and you just don't see it anywhere. It's gone. No. Yeah. I'd love to try it though, because hearing that, it's like it kind of renews. Because I almost pulled the trigger on this game so many times.
It's a good one.
If you can get a copy, definitely worth it. I'm sure you can get one for cheap too.
I think you guys would enjoy it.
It'll be in the stack with Rattle Battle Grab the Loot. Yeah. I don't know if
Red Rising.
Yeah, there you go. That one too. That's like the budget bid. You see those. Honestly, you'll see that one at cons. That was a Portal game too. Rattle Battle Grab the Loot. You see that cons for like $15 now. Yeah, it's not terrible, but
Rattle Battle Grab the Loot?
Yeah, it's not a terrible. I mean, it's not. It's fun with kids because it's got. I remember when we at Gen Con. Not to go on a tangent, but. Ignacy was at the Portal booth, and he was talking about that game, and he was all proud. He's like, I bought this mechanic off of some designer so that I could put it in this game, and I built the game around it. And it was dropping the dice into a box lid, and wherever they landed, that's where your ships were, and that's how you did combat.
So random.
That's how that mechanism is actually quite neat, though. That's in Rec Raiders from Kids Table Board Games. The box lid is where you roll your dice, and there's symbols printed around it. And you drop your dice, and wherever they land is like the stuff that's generated. It's pretty neat.
That's exactly that's the mechanic, and every die is a ship. So they're all that's your fleet. That's everybody's fleets plus the pirates are all in here, and you drop it for that scenario. And where they land, the proximity of them is how you determine who attacks who and all that stuff.
Maybe Rec Raiders bought it from Ignacy.
Yeah, they
in the budget bin.
Yeah. And then you actually your player board is your ship, and as you get loot and stuff, you'll add onto your ship bigger cannons, bigger sails. Nice. You add another sail mast, so your ships can travel further. They'll get more shots, and the more pirates you kill at the end, the more loot you get, and then you go back to port between rounds. And you get all your loot, and you hire crew. Yeah, it's very cartoony. Yeah. It's not a bad game for kids. If you play that with your kids, it's actually pretty fun. But it's definitely it fell flat, like hard.
I looked at it once, thinking about getting it because I have kids that I play with. But then reading all the reviews about how much luck was involved.
It's total luck.
Rory is not going to like this at all.
No, it's a total luck.
She does not like luck.
No. Yeah, she'd have one bad drop, and all her ships are in a bad position, and then she gets no loot. Yeah, she'd be not happy at all.
Yeah, my youngest is super lucky, and she'll win all the luck games.
Plus, the game is $65.
Yeah, because it's 1,000.
When I was looking at it, it was like $10.
Yep.
No,
wait, what?
No. Budget bin.
That's
$4.99.
That's if you buy it from their website, probably. I bet you go to
Amazon is $64.99.
You go to any convention. It's because you can't find them anymore because they stopped printing it like 6 years ago. You go to any convention, you'll see that on the shelf. $6, man.
Yep.
Wow.
In shrink, you'll get it. Guaranteed.
That's funny.
Right, so there it is.
Anyway, all right.
Alien artifacts, not ancient aliens.
Yes. And
definitely,
alien artifacts.
I like it, and there was an expansion to it as well, like an extra deck that we also picked it up as well, so you can expand.
Yeah, that's a great thing.
All right, back around to you, Branden, I believe.
Oh, you weren't going, Anthony?
I'll go at the end. I'll close this out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because we just both have one.
Each of them. Yeah.
Gotcha. I have my second one is one of my only 10 out of 10s. I've never done a review for it, though. I've never done a video, and I think I need to now since we got this green screen thing going on.
There you go.
And I think this would be a fun one to do, and it's Memoir 44.
44.
I
game.
absolutely love this game. It is a war game that is so accessible. It does have an element of luck in it, but everybody's in the same boat. You set it up on a board, and it's Richard Borg, and he's known for this. It's actually the Command and Color system. We actually have another game that employs the same exact mechanism. It's Battle Lore 2nd edition, which is like the fantasy version of it. I picked this one just because it's a 10 out of 10. Yeah, this one for me I like this one better, even though Battle Lore does have some cool stuff to it. Battle Lore, Fantasy Flight sort of just dropped support for it. You can't find the armies anymore.
We talked about that, didn't we?
That's setting turnoff, right?
Ridiculous. Yeah. That is such a turnoff for me. I don't understand why Fantasy Flight buys these things up and then they turn around and stop supporting it.
Yeah.
And now the armies are like hundreds of dollars to get them. And so I've only got 2 armies in there. This, I have almost everything for it. I'm missing like a couple of things. Every single mission is historically based. Obviously, the outcome, because it's a board game, may not match history. But we have the Eastern Fronts. We have all the different theaters of war, the Pacific Theater, all these different spots. They all come with all these different little miniatures. It's a very simple game to set up. It is quick. The game actually plays very fast because you have a certain number of objectives. You're actually trying to mainly score stars, typically 4 or 5, depending on the scenario. It's intensely thematic. And what's neat is the way that you roll the dice. What you roll is what you kill. And so if you roll the dice and you have a little infantryman on there and you're shooting at infantry, you'll kill an infantryman. If you roll a tank, you're going to kill a tank. If you roll a grenade, you can kill anything. So a grenade does different things. And then the really fun part of this game, though, isn't really the dice. That's when you're like lined up to attack. The randomness comes in with the dice. But the way that you maneuver is with a hand of cards. And those cards are there's all kinds of things, but the board is actually set up. I don't have the board here. The board is actually set up, the main board, if you're just playing the straight 2-player variant. There, see that little line, that little dotted line that runs right down there? Right there, vertically?
Yeah.
There's 2 of those. So there's 3 sections of the board: your left flank, your center, and your right flank. Now, obviously, your opponent's sitting on the other side, so their left is your right. And so you're playing cards, and the cards will tell you, okay, well, you can do I forget the different names of the different tactics, but it'll say like all push. And it'll show like all 3, and you can attack with as many things as you want from all 3 of the different zones. Or it might be left flank attack, and you can attack with all of your infantry units. Or it might be the right flank, and you can attack with your tanks. There's airplane bombings and stuff. I mean, there's all those bundles of wire and the I forget those tank stoppers there. Those iron. I forget what those are called. There's a name for those. But like
starts with a C. I can't remember.
Yeah, and there's the dice, and then the star is actually nothing. A star is a miss, but there are some missions that add a component to what the star does. So special missions, it'll say if you roll stars, it'll do this kind of thing. Flags are retreat, and if you retreat and if your forces are forced to retreat and they can't retreat any further back, then they die. I mean, it is just such a fun, fast war game that a lot of people don't really talk about it much anymore. I mean, Shut Up and Sit Down did a big live, not a live stream, but like I think it might have been a live stream. I don't remember. It was a while ago. They did the real big 8-player Overlord, which we have, but we've never been able to play it with 8 players. And basically, it's 4-on-4. You have 2 boards next to each other. So now there's 6 different theaters. Or 6 different segments on the board, and each person is commanding like a certain one, but then you have one person that's like the over commander for the Americans or the Germans or whatever the case is. And now I have a couple more boxes here. I'm going to just go on a little bit. This one thankfully got reprinted. This is the new flight plan. The original one, the flight pack or whatever it was called, the air pack, was very difficult to find. And as you can see, it adds all the different World War II bombers and planes, and they're on these clear stands. And as you fly across the hex field, There's different rules for how they drop their bombs, and it's really easy. It's not very complicated. I mean, there's a lot of rules because the game is big, and each unit has their own little rules. But like, I'm really glad that they reprinted this, and then they reprinted finally. I couldn't get a hold of the equipment pack again. It was, Days of Wonder. It was another Asmodee thing. I'm like, oh no, finally, Days of Wonder reprinted the equipment pack, which comes with all of that. Look at that. It's just a ton of different minis that you can add into the game, more cards that you can do different things with. I mean, the sky's the limit with this game, really. And it gives me just endless amounts of play. There's no solo mode from what I understand. There is an app for it, I think, on Steam, which I've played. I played with people around the world on it until they started, like, you couldn't play it unless you paid like per match or something. It was really badly implemented the way the app was. I'd have to check to see if they've changed it, but I was actually playing with people around the world and winning, and it was really fun to play. Cool. It felt like the board game. It really did.
Okay.
It was like a top-down view, and you could just move your stuff around and all of that. It was really fun. I don't know. This game, I never can get it out of my head. There was a time where I had a buddy when Lexi and I lived in a different place. He was actually a pastor friend of mine. He and I would get together and we'd play Memoir 44. And we always had fun, and we did all these different, we were working through like the campaigns and had so much fun. This game, for me, this is a 10 out of 10. And it's not because the game, it doesn't have flaws, but if it does, I don't really know of any. I mean, the game just it crushes it on every level. This is for me, it's a perfect game.
How would you compare this to Undaunted?
Oh, I don't even think it's close. I would not choose Undaunted over this in any way. Memoir 40. Now, look, Undaunted's a card game. It's a deck builder. In theory, it certainly sets up a lot quicker than Memoir. I have all of my Memoir stuff's in a tackle box because it's just, there's so much stuff. But that actually helps me with organization. A tackle box is actually a great organizer for board games. Most people don't know that. You just pull out the plastic thing and all the compartments. I have my stuff and just go at it. But it is a lot larger than, now I don't know how it would compare to the Stalingrad because I haven't played the Undaunted Stalingrad, the big, $100 box. I wouldn't mind trying it, but it's just fundamentally different. It's a deck builder. It is a war game. I do like Undaunted. We have the first one. We don't have the other ones. But this one for me, because of the dice chucking, like the dice chucking just feels good, but you could always maneuver and do different things with cards. Like you can do a carpet bomb where you actually play the card and you'll roll all these dice and you'll be just picking people off as you go. And it's very swingy. So it'll be like a nice tug of war where they'll advance on you and then you'll advance on them. And I don't know, it's pretty intense. I really like this game.
To me, it's like a game I would choose way over Axis and Allies. It's a
without
lot more accessible. It looks nicer, plays better. To me, that'd be the better comparison because Undaunted it's just small hand management.
It is.
And you play it much quicker. But Memoir 44 is amazing. Do they still support it?
They do. Like I just said, they just reprinted the equipment pack. I couldn't find that. That was hundreds of dollars on eBay, the original version. It still is. The you notice it says new flight plan. The first one was called Air Pack. Well, this is actually better. So they actually did reprint this. They still sell the base game. You can still go into stores and find. In fact, look at all these different awards. See, the original boxes didn't have all of that stuff. So they are supporting it now. There's some stuff that is out of print. For example, I don't think I have it handy. I have the campaign. It's still in the shrink. They have campaign books that are hardcover that. There's 2 volumes. There's volume 1 and volume 2. I have volume 2. My brother actually bought it for me as a gift. I don't think he realized what he had. He bought it for me as a gift. The thing is worth $300 or $400 in the shrink. And I haven't even opened it yet because I don't want to open it unless I'm going to play it. Because I don't want to sell it because not only was it a gift from my brother, but it's like completing my set. The first volume, it's hard to find it. And that's the other problem. You can download the print and play, though. There's a PDF of it that Days of Wonder has on their site and a print of the sheet of tokens that you need. So you can technically download the volume 1 in PDF format and print out the tokens if you wanted to and cut them out. to play. I probably have so many tokens I could probably get away with not worrying about the tokens. So they support it, but they don't. It's weird. Like I think what they do is they wait for things to go way out of print, like the Eastern Front is like the winter. That's where all the winter tiles and you're in like Stalingrad and all of that. They have the Pacific Theater. They have the Desert Theater, North Africa. Like they have all these different things. And every now and then you can just walk in and you'll see a store and they have a big stack of them, for $20-$30. But then other times you can't find them and you have to go online and they're like $100. So I've been able to really just take my time and I'm still looking for that volume 1. So if anybody knows of a volume 1 in the shrink or even not in the shrink, that's what I need to complete my collection. I also don't have the campaign bag, the burlap sack that they made.
Oh, wow.
You could actually store the game in this, and it was like a real military duffel bag.
Wow.
Like it had all the printings and look it up. Sam Healy had it, which is where I saw the video. He covered it, but they haven't reprinted that. That was like a one-time run, and they're not.
Oh, man.
I don't think they're going to do that again. Yeah.
Huh.
Very cool.
That's awesome. Never played it. You're gonna have to show me that one at AAG.
Oh, absolutely.
You'd like it, Anthony.
Yeah,
it's
very
fun.
Good.
I would play it for sure. I like World War II as a theme. I think it's just it's an interesting war. There's a lot of things that went down. So games in that vein, I find enjoyable. Like I loved Axis and Allies and a more accessible version of that. Like Undaunted was okay. I liked it, but I wasn't like in love with it. I do like chucking dice when I do combat.
These dice are the most fun dice to chuck. In fact, with my Battle Lore set, I'll just tell you a little nerdy thing that I did. We live in a very small town, and Battle Lore only comes with one set of dice. Memoir 44 only came with one set of dice, but when you can buy another set of dice very easily. Battle Lore, once again, they don't print their dice anymore. So to find the pack that they actually sell the extra dice, it's either not able to be found or it's insanely expensive. So I actually bought a set of purple dice because in Battle Lore, the dice are purple and they have all these white symbols on them for different things. And I found literally in my hometown, which is like, we're 25 miles north of Pittsburgh. Like we're out not in the middle of nowhere, but we're certainly rural. And right down the road, like 2 minutes from our house, I found someone who did carving, like etching. And I said, I called him up and I said, could you etch these symbols into these dice in this configuration? And they were like, we have never been asked that before. Yeah, let's give it a try. And not only did it only take them one shot, I didn't have to buy like 8, packs of dice to do this. They did it perfectly. And then what I did is I took white enamel, and filled them in. So now I have 2 sets of dice, and it's hard to tell. Awesome. It's actually hard to tell which one's which.
Oh, that's amazing.
That's cool.
So just little nerdy stuff there for me. Like when I love a game, like I really go to a length to try to figure it out. Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
Yep.
Yeah, like I said, you've piqued my interest, so we'll definitely have to find time to play that when we're up there.
We'll play Memoir and then play Battle Lore and see which one you like different, because Battle Lore actually adds a little bit different mechanics that are pretty cool. So it'd be neat to see which one you like.
I am a fan of the Terranoth lore as well.
Yeah, Terranoth is pretty neat.
Yeah.
Yep.
So definitely.
Anyway, sorry to go on, but yeah, it's one of my favorite games of all time. Yeah.
All right. Sweet. All right. Allie, what's your second game tonight?
Okay, my second game tonight is Sheep and Thief from Pegasus Field.
Oh,
The weirdest game title I've ever heard.
I know. Have you guys heard of this one?
Never.
no.
Z Garcia likes it.
Yeah, this is a Z Garcia pick. This is one that I found because of him. And it's in their family line, and it is a family game. That is what it's made for. This is like the second edition that I have. And the first one, you can see, like, if you look on BGG, it has these little, like, cotton fluff balls that were the sheep. And in the version that I have, it has actual, like, sheep meeples in it. Yeah. But essentially, it's a drafting and tile placement game. So everyone has their own player board, and you're drafting these cards that have different symbols on them. So some of them will have sheep, some of them will have this little dog, some of them will have a fox, some of them will have like a little pen, which is basically like a safe space for your sheep. And so you're drafting cards in the round. And then once you have your hand of cards, you'll play all but one of them. And so you'll play out these cards onto your board. You can't rotate them. You have to play them in the orientation that they were there. And as you play them out, if you play a card that has sheep, you'll add sheep to the card. If you play a card that has the dog on it, then you can move your sheep because the dog is going to herd your sheep across your fields. And if you play a card that has the fox on it, you have this little fox that starts kind of down towards the bottom right corner on everyone's board. And you'll move the fox. And he can move up, down, left, or right. And wherever you move him on your board is where he moves on everyone else's boards too. And so if you move him and he lands on a card that has sheep on it that doesn't have one of those little barns, then you'll steal the sheep and you get to put it in your little pen. And if he lands on one that has your own sheep on it, then he just eats them and they go away. But you can like steal sheep from other people by moving this fox around.
This is a family game?
Yeah.
Fox
Fox eats sheep. Yeah. Foxes eat sheep. That's what they do. So everyone starts out with a card in the upper left-hand corner and you're building off of there. So it follows a lot of the typical like tile placement, even though you're placing cards where it has to be adjacent to another card that you've already played. You can't like run water into your roads. Everything has to connect in a logical way. And so the other way you can score points is by getting your roads connected all the way down to all of the other corners. And so you're trying to connect to the corners, you're trying to add sheep because the sheep are actually going to be points at the end, however many sheep you have, plus connecting the corners. Plays over 3 rounds. It's really fast, so you're not going to fill your whole board in. And it rotates other directions. And there's a couple extra like modules in the box with black sheep and different objectives that we haven't played with because I've only played with my girls really so far. But it's just a super fun game, very cute, and it's a great introduction to drafting because it's that standard Seven Wonders draft where you're literally passing your hand of cards, pick one, pass your hand of cards, pick one, and then you rotate the other way the next round. And it has a good 2-player variant in it as well.
That's cool.
Looks fun. Very cute. Yeah, I'd never heard of it. The title is so strange. It's almost like a bad translation.
Yeah.
Sheep and
I don't know what it was called in I think this was originally a Japanese. It's by a Japanese designer who I have not heard of any of his other games, but I'm sure that it was probably called something else. But yeah.
It probably sounded a lot cooler too. When it was in Japanese.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I like the fact that what you're doing affects other other people's boards, and I feel like that's a mechanic that we don't see too often. But when you do see it, it's pretty neat. It's pretty neat, yeah. It's like interaction without having to really actually be physically interacting on a board with other people.
Yeah, and it's really simple, like of a mechanic, and so even young kids. I mean, Rory's been playing this probably since she was like 6 or 7, and she understands that like if I move the fox, then he's going to move on mom's board, and can I get any of her sheep? So she plans it out.
Yeah.
To get your sheep.
How do I get to get other people's sheep and without getting her own. So like she'll know she has these fox cards in her hand, and if you have a card that has like 2 foxes, you can move it twice. If you have 2 dogs, you can herd twice. So there's just really fun little mechanisms in there, and then figuring out what to draft and thinking about, okay, I want a fox, but can I actually place this card on my board? Because if you can't place it, then you can't play it. So you have to really plan ahead.
Wow.
That's
really
neat.
cool. Yeah, that was interesting. When I was pulling those pictures, I was like, this looks pretty cool, actually.
When did that game come out?
It was 2014. And it's,
wow.
And I think the second edition was 2014. So the original is older than that. And it's probably hard to find. I snagged a copy like a couple years ago because Z Garcia was raving about it. And I found one. I was like, well, I should buy this right now while I can. Before I can't get it. But yeah, it's a good one if you come across it. It's worth giving a try, especially if you game mostly with family or more casual gamers. It's very simple and easy to get people into drafting and get people into tile placement.
That's cool.
Cool. We'll keep an eye out for it.
Yeah.
Excellent.
All right. And then Mr. Gary.
All right. The game you've been waiting for.
I made you big, Gary.
Goa.
Go get our.
I gift Goa.
I'll go and get our copy.
She needs to
That's
get our we have a copy courtesy of Gary.
That's right. Oh, I love this game so much.
It's the more orange copy.
Yeah, we have the darker orange version.
Yeah, you have
just-
who did that one? Because Z-Man bought it.
This was Rio Grande.
Rio Grande, that's right. And then, so this one is New Expedition, which is just a couple small rules, which you can obviously play with your edition. And it comes with a couple more tiles that you can use for the auction, I believe. But that's really about it.
There you go, Vanna.
So Goa.
Let's hear
this
about
one
what is it?
2004. Rudiger Dorn. I don't know if he's made anything. Well, maybe a couple years. He did Istanbul,
there you go.
Las Vegas, Karuba. If you've ever
did he do
Karuba.
it? He did Istanbul?
He did Istanbul.
Okay.
Yeah, he did a lot of games. A lot of them I just don't know a lot about him, but you know, he does have a few big ones, and obviously Goa is one of his big ones. But Goa is at its core, and there's an auction mechanic, and I like some auction games, but I love this auction mechanic. And it's in the middle of a board. In fact, when he gets back, he can pull things up so you can kind of see the tiles. Yeah, see if you can pull that up. But basically, you are between Portugal and India. Goa's in Portugal, and you're just going to be shipping spice back and forth between India and Goa, and just building up your colonies and your plantations and those types of things. So, I mean, the theme's pretty dry. It triggers a lot of people, but I love this game. So, you know, I'll be a colonial here and build my country up here. So, but basically, so that is a player board there. Go back to the main board first, where you were just at.
Sir.
Okay, so right there in the middle, you got all these tiles. It's basically there's two big rounds, and then with each there's like a round A. You play through it twice. And then there's a round B, you play through that twice. So the game actually moves fairly quickly once everybody knows what they're doing. So you see there in the middle, there's going to be different tiles. Some of those tiles are getting your spices. There's 5 different spices in the game. Some are just allow you to get money. Some allow you to get more colonists, so you can build plantations or colonies. And so what you're going to do is go to the next picture over toward the... yeah, that one right there. So the first player has that starting marker, that number 1 there. And so you can put that marker anywhere around the board orthogonally next to a tile, whichever one you want to put, and you'll put your number 1 on it as starting player. Then the next person can put one either diagonally or orthogonally right there. So that was the number 2 player. The number 3 player went diagonally from that because that's a tile that they want to bid on. And then 4, and then you'll see number 5 there. Starting player also gets to put one more down. And what'll happen is, so the number 1, you first bid for starting player.
Right.
So player to your left will start the bidding, whatever you want to make it. It goes all the way around. Say some people can pass, some people can bid. It's only a one-time round. It doesn't keep going round and round and round. It's one time around. When it gets back to the starting player, the person who put the 1 down, they can choose to sell it to the highest bidder or take it themselves for 1 less than the highest bid. Then you'll go to number 2, and you'll keep doing that all throughout the entire thing. If nobody bids, then you just get it for free. So, and then that's how that's the whole auction mechanic. And then you'll start doing things. You'll take those actions. So you see number 2 there. Looks like they're going to get 3 colonists. You'll use colonists to build your plantations and all that sort of stuff. Number 3, he's going to get he's bidding on spices. Number 4, I think that's going to be money. And then number 5 is more spices. Now go back to your player board. If you can, let's see. Yeah, right there. So your player board, basically, there are 6 things you can do. Once you've won your tile, there's 6 things you can do. In the first column there, that is shipping spices. So if you're going to ship, you'll see some spices in between each of those rows. That's how many of those specific spices plus a ship for each of those spices. And that way it's basically tech tree. So you're just you can progress.
Oh, okay.
You can progress down. Okay. Because, well, I'll get that in a minute. So that's shipping spices. Then that's harvest is the next one over. So whatever plantations or colonies you have that are making certain spices. You'll harvest. The next is just getting money. So some people just go the money route because they just want to bid on a bunch of stuff in the auction. The next one is expeditions. You can take expeditions. And those allow you, that shows you how many cards you're going to, I think it's take, and then you can keep one, or take three. You take 3 cards and keep 2, something like that. It's been a while since I played this. And then the last column is colonists that you have. And then what you'll do, you'll go through the round. If if you've been harvested, you can do the harvest action and get those spices, any spices you want on your plantations and stuff like that. So basically, you'll do that. Everybody will do that. Then you'll go back to that board. You'll auction what's still left on the board and do everything again. Then a second round will start. You get all new tiles out in that middle board, and you'll go through that twice. But what will happen is you're just trying to build up your colonies. There's another board there, a player board that I don't think there's a picture of. Actually, go to that. Go to the next one over. I'm sorry, the middle one. Yeah, there you go. So see next to the player board, the top row is plantations that you can build. They just create spices. And then the row underneath that will be where your colonies will go. And you got to have so many colonists to colonize that certain town. And there's it's 4 towns. And you'll just go through that. You'll take 3 actions per round, but sometimes you'll get extra action cards, and you can take in 4 or 5 actions that round. So, it's just how you ever kind of want to play it, but you're basically progressing your tracks, building up your colonies, and then of course there's scoring rounds at the end. Also, the cards that come into play are neat because they're multi-use. Some will give you colonists, some will give you more money, whatever you choose to use that card for. So I'm sure there were maybe other games around 2004 that did this, but it seemed like one of the first games that really started giving you multi-use cards. I was like, oh, that's a cool new mechanic. But the game just flows super smooth. It's like I said, it probably could use actually they may be working on redoing some of it and giving a new graphic design, and probably take out the triggering aspects of it. But otherwise, as long as they don't get rid of the
space.
Goa in space.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, exactly. But no, this will be coming to AAG Con, and we'll have to throw some Goa down. But,
you know what? We have your copy.
Let's register then, folks.
We need to get that played. I think that's a must.
Yeah, it is. It's very, very good. It's just one that doesn't really lose its kind of because it's smooth. It's just really smooth. That's the thing. It seems like there's a couple things going on, but it's tech tree with some auction, and then go for it.
Go for it.
Go for it.
You know what Rudiger Dorn did? The other game he did though.
What's that?
Montana.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I played that. Yeah.
Spinner.
Yeah.
That was one of the when that showed up at a con. I was like, ooh, this looks pretty cool. I like the art. It's got a lot of cow meeples. It's like a Western game.
Pull it out of the box.
Pull it out of the box. It's got a spinner. And it tells you what meeples you get, right? And that, literally, I'm like, I can't play a game.
I think we played one round
with a spinner, because it lands on that line, right between both things, and it's like, all right, which one do I do? And it's like, oh, we'll just go with the one that's a little bit further. I'm like, I can't play this game ever.
And even the spinner wasn't that great.
Yeah, I was like, dude, just make a die or something. You know what I mean?
That's true.
How hard is that?
It could have been
there were 8 choices. It could have been 8-sided die.
It could have been like a D12 and done the same thing.
Cool with that, or a D12.
Actually, that would have been pretty cool to do it with, something like that.
It would have been
big
awesome
old
if
D12.
Yeah, or even if you had 2 dice, and you did.
There you go. Yeah.
What? Why? Why the spin? Whose idea was it to improve that spinner? I'm gonna do a spinner in a game. Check. They should have did one where you pop it and the dice pops.
Sorry.
Yeah, at that point, you might as well just go for it.
Trouble. That's right. Trouble. Yeah, not sorry.
So,
trouble.
Unfortunately, what could have been a good game fell flat because it was just poor design. Who even thought that was a good idea? I don't know.
It's a bad idea.
Yeah,
you can play Life. The spinner doesn't land in between.
There you go. That's right.
It always points one direction.
Yeah. Awesome.
We just played that last weekend.
I saw that.
I heard. Yeah, that's a throwback if I ever heard one.
Well, when your kids want to play Life.
Yeah,
that is true. I'm actually going to pivot here. I was going to cover a game that I.
What were you going to cover?
I was going to cover a game called Roll for the Galaxy.
Oh, you love that
I
game.
could technically cover, but I don't.
What are you going to cover instead?
It was torn between that and Shipyard.
Oh,
Shipyard.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just think that Shipyard a lot of people haven't heard of.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it needs to be talked about. I'm going to grab my
go
copy.
Get it.
Because it's
Shifting
got a special
gears.
place.
It has a special place in your heart.
It does.
That's funny.
That's a Vladimir Suhi, right?
This
Suhi,
is
yes.
Suhi.
So this is an old box of a
that
game.
game is so good.
Yeah, so it just deserves. Let me see what year this was published.
Really?
I can't really see that. So let me give you a little bit of history on this one. So I bought, this was one of my first games I picked up at a convention.
2009.
2009.
So I bought this at Gen Con, my first Gen Con ever. Getting into the hobby. Went out, bought this game. I was there with a buddy. We brought all our games back to the room. We were getting ready to play. This is CGE. We cracked the box open. I started punching it. And this is all the cardboard tokens. It's just all tokens. And they're small cardboard tokens in some cases. Like these. Like these are tiny little, these are people, by the way. And there's like 1,000 of them. And they're all different. And there's like, but the premise of this game is basically you run a shipyard. And it's got a rondel. So you take actions on the rondel, like any other rondel. But you're essentially, every action you take, you're going around and you're grabbing parts of the ship. So you're getting people, you're getting the bow, the aft, or the center sections. And then you have to decide whether or not you want it to have sails, whether or not you want it to have smokestacks, so whether it's steam powered. And all of this you're doing with regards to these ocean routes that you're building, right? So you build these ocean routes, and what that represents is the route your ship is going to have to take, and they're all going to judge how well your ship was designed. And you've got, like, on your player board, you've got like 2 or 3, I think there might be two like sort of ports where you can build, so you can have 2 boats going concurrently. And then you have to decide at what point you want to stop adding onto this giant ship and just cap it off and get it out, because that's how you score your points. Once you get it onto your route, different points on the route will tell you what they want to see. Do they want to see a life preserver on your boat? Do they want to see a guy on the deck waving? Do they want to see the flag?
Because they're all different.
Yeah, they're all different.
Like,
There's
different people.
10,000 people. So as you go
cannon.
your route, every time you get to a symbol, if you met it, you get points, and that's how you're getting all your points. So when we first punched this game, I literally put it right back in the box and closed it and said, I'm not playing this game, because it's just, I got scared because of all the components, and it's, for a first game at a con, like, this is like, it's heavy. And I was just like, this isn't happening. But then let that sink in for like a day or two, pulled it out, set it up, we played it, and I was like, this game is really good. Surprisingly, it looks dry as all. But when you start building that boat, you get into it, because it's like, all right, I need to get that smokestack. And the parts come out random. So you've got to kind of choose what pieces you're getting, because they have to meet, again, that criteria on that whole little thing. And then the most satisfying thing is letting that little boat run that little thing and get all those points. It's kind of like in Dungeon Lords when you let the heroes come through the dungeon and you set up all that stuff to get them. It's really a surprise for such an old game. Well, I guess old, right? I mean, at this stage, it is kind of old.
Well, it is, yeah.
Well,
But,
and it's multiple rondels.
Yeah, it is. You're right. It does have
It's not just one. It's like multiple. Like, whoa.
Yeah, it's like you're just going, I don't even know what I need to do here. I guess I'll get more guys. Like, I don't know.
Waving at your boat.
Yeah, just get more sales this round. I don't know, but it's a chunky game. But I'm telling you, if you don't want to, like, this is one of those things where you punch all the parts and you're just like, I don't even know. I need like 35 bags to put this away because it's that crazy. But so that's the one I wanted to get out, because again, it's not one you hear about often. Mm-hmm. But in my opinion, it's a real classic, and it's fun. A little dry, but it's fun.
Is that one of his first games?
It might be.
Don't know. I'd be interested to find out. Yeah, I was going to talk about Roll for the Galaxy, but that one really came out of a passion for Race for the Galaxy. I think that was the original card game.
Yeah.
And just the card game was so simplistic, but it was kind of like, I don't like, all you do is everything is with the cards, and it's like you're using cards that represent your production goods. There's cards represent everything in that game, so it's like I just get tired of the cards. So when the dice implementation came out, I was like, all right, cool. They dolled it up a little bit, and their implementation was so good in that where you have, it's one of those games where everybody has to pick what action they want to take that round, and then those are the only actions that actually get done that round.
Yeah.
So then I think our camera just went down.
Oh, I'll go fix it.
So I'll speak. So, in fact, they did that, and then they put out a game called New Frontiers, which was actually the board game version of Race for the Galaxy. So they have a card game, a dice game, a board game version. I guess you'd call it board game-ish. But then Terraforming Mars, when they came out with the lighter version, that used that same mechanism where you pick the action you want to do for that round, and then those are the only ones. So it's definitely, I guess, popular.
I've only played Roll. I've never played Race.
If you've played Roll, then you're good. There really is there's no real need to go back from there.
I've never played either, but I did play Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition, which I heard was similar to one of those.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, the Terraforming Mars system that uses, how you pick when you have to pick your activity for that round. It's the same concept that came from all of those For the Galaxy games. Like that's how they all run. So when they put out that Terraforming Mars, I'm like, this is the same system that Race for the Galaxy did. It's definitely, there's more to the Mars game than those. They're completely different, because in those games it's all about colonizing planets either through the resources or through military strength, and then building technologies in projects, they call them. Like that's all you do the whole game, and you're just trying to build this tableau of planets and technologies that by end game you've got the most. And it's one of those games where you're playing, like if you play with two players, 15 victory points is all you have in the victory point pool. So once the pool is empty, whoever has the most victory points wins. And as you're playing, you're gaining those victory points from that pool of points. So you can kind of see where it's winding down, and you need to like make a big move in order to swipe up the last bit. So it's really cool. Those are, if you're into those, they're a little dry, but I think the dice one's the most fun, just because there's a lot of dice.
A lot.
Yeah, a lot of dice, and they give you dice cups too for each player, and they all represent like different resources, I think, that you get from the different planets. So they're interesting. But
Gary was asking about Shipyard. So it was his second game.
Okay.
Second game.
What was the first?
League of Six, which I've never heard of.
League of Six.
Yeah, and then he did 20th Century and Last Will, which is another one that I wanted to pick up. Last Will.
I've got Prodigals Club.
Yeah, that was the next one.
Fantastic.
Is it? See, I think we own Pulsar. That was his next one.
Yep.
Underwater Cities is the one that Allie and I are going to have a date and play. Praga Kaput Rigny, which I've not played.
Love it.
Is that good?
Is it good?
Yes.
Love it.
Yes,
So
it
good.
Plays really well at 2 as well. So
Okay. Wow. And then Messina we just played.
We like Messina
which was
a lot.
really good.
Did you play it, Allie?
Yeah, I did.
You liked it, right?
What'd you think?
It was good. I played solo, and I came up pretty short on the solo objectives, but that's not surprising with his games. I've never beaten Underwater Cities solo.
Right.
Okay.
It's really hard, but it's typical Suhi, where you better be efficient with everything.
Yeah.
It's a pretty cool game.
And then
We're not going to make it.
Woodcraft.
Woodcraft, he
he
co-designed, yeah.
We have Woodcraft up on the table upstairs.
We do. Yeah.
It's coming soon. So we might as well do
We need to do a Suhi list.
A
We need
Suhi.
to play a couple
Vladimir
more.
Suhi series.
That'd be good. There's some. You named off some really good ones. I can't get. I'll play Pulsar anytime somebody wants to play Pulsar.
Oh, it's so good. Yeah.
Pulsar's
That game
really
is so good.
I know.
Yeah, that's really good.
Big fan. And you know what? Prodigals Club is really good too. And if you have Last Will, you can combine the two games.
Really?
Oh, can you really?
Yeah, it's one of those games where you're trying to like basically lose. That's how you win.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's hilarious. I mean, you're trying to be the most terrible rich person out
that's
there.
right.
Yeah.
Why do I feel like we've played that?
I don't know. We haven't played it.
We haven't played it,
No.
but I don't know. I think it's just, again, it's one of the ones
It's
that's been on my
clever.
list because it's pretty neat. Yeah.
Sounds like we have a lot of games to
Yeah.
add to our purchase
Too many.
list.
Starting
Yeah.
with Goa.
Well, we have.
Oh, we already own that.
We have
so.
that
That's right.
one.
You already got that one. That's right.
Yep. So.
Yeah.
All right, is
We
anything
did
else?
a kids game too called Monster
Oh.
Baby Rescue.
Oh.
Monster
that was on
Baby Rescue.
Yeah,
Okay.
we played that one at the Dice Tower. My mom and I did, and my mom absolutely loved it and bought it for the girls for Christmas. So we have that one, and Rory
Oh,
loved
cool.
it.
Oh, that's cool.
Very
Oh,
cool.
It's fun.
And real quick, check hedgehog. That's what those steel things are called on the beaches.
That's
Oh,
it.
hedgehog.
Yeah.
The check
Oh.
hedgehog.
Yep.
I'm sure somebody was out there going, check hedgehog.
Yeah, I know.
It's in the comments, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep. To be
But you were
fair,
right,
my
Anthony. He
three-
said start with a C.
To be fair, my three brothers got to go to the military. I couldn't go because I had pins in my knee, so I couldn't go. Yeah.
Oh, I went, but I never learned about the Czech hedgehog. My brother probably did. He was an anti-tank assaultman. I was.
Oh,
just
wow.
I was a lowly machine gunner, so
Nice.
Somebody's got to shoot the bullets.
you don't want to shoot them at tanks. I'll tell you that.
That's right.
Crazy. All right.
Submarines and tanks. I don't want to be in them. I
No.
just don't.
Oh, yeah.
No.
Definitely don't,
Airplanes I could probably handle a little bit, but not submarines and not tanks.
No, definitely not. All right, I think we covered quite a good amount of games tonight. That was a really good discussion. Anybody else want to talk about anything? Are we good?
No.
I think
Put
we're
a
good.
wrap
That
on
was a
it?
fun talk.
Yeah.
There's a couple games I'd never heard about. So
Yeah, excellent.
Yeah,
That's what I
same.
love about this, about these different shows that we do. Well, I love and hate them, right? I love it because we have a lot of good discussion. I hate them because I always end up going out and getting more games
Yeah.
that I probably don't need right now.
And being sad that we don't have time to play other games.
That's what. Yeah, we'll go buy some of these games on this list, and they'll sit on the table upstairs for the next 3 months in shrink.
We've been getting a little better, though. We've been getting better at getting to stuff.
Yeah.
I just want to say both of my games, and by the way, I was wrong on Pillars. It wasn't 2007. That's when I bought it. 2006 is actually its release date.
Ah, okay.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
So that game is 17 years old, and Memoir 44 is 19 years old, and both of them are still in print, and you can buy them right now.
That's
great.
amazing.
Yeah, that's amazing.
That's
awesome.
that's the
Noah,
sign
Sheep and
of a-
Thief, that come the other one that Gary mentioned, which by the way, Gary, 2 very beige Euros. I'm surprised.
Hey, I know.
I gotta be honest.
He's a very beige Euro.
Scoundrels,
Gary.
Yeah.
and then he goes to Noah. Like, I don't get it. I don't understand.
Gary's like hit or miss. Man, that's
I know. I can't help
see
it. I'm not
He's
designing.
complex guy.
It's
Yes.
really solid or it's just forgettable.
Yeah.
That's it.
So
Very
anyway,
much
folks,
so.
you can get the 2 games that I brought up because they are
Yes.
in
You
print.
can.
So there
Very
you go.
good. Yes.
You can get mine too. Everything has a price.
Everything does. They're available somewhere.
That is true. You're right. You're right.
Yes. Yeah.
right, so-
I love these discussions though, because I think we do talk a lot about like all the hot stuff. And I know we're all anyway, like always going on about like all the great games that used to be out. And, we're very like get off my lawn sometimes about the
new stuff, yeah.
And this is why, because there are so many really, really, really good games that
Just because they're new and they have a
Not
lot of
everybody
plastic
good.
doesn't mean
Yeah.
they're good, right? Or doesn't mean they're better than some of the games that have been out for a decade or more,
Yeah.
right? And those are the games. If they're still in print, there's a reason they're still in print. Right?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and
Well,
that's
a lot of the newer games are trying to build on some of these older games that just nailed it so well, and they're just so there are. To me, there are a lot of good games out there. It's just like, well, but some of these older ones just do it better.
they do it better.
No one, I don't know, has anybody done anything better than Orleans in that kind of type right now? There's a
Yeah.
reason why that game, it's so good. It just nailed, or Grand Austria Hotel,
Yeah.
They just
Yeah.
they nail it so well. I was like, nothing's coming out that's better. I'll just play
Yeah.
Grand Austria.
Yeah. Rococo.
Rococo, there's another one.
Like that one, it's one of those games you just don't ever get tired of playing. Like
Yeah.
every time you play it, you're like, man, I forgot how good this game was. It's
Yeah.
just, you're always hit with that. And it's like, Why do we need, like, how many more are going to come out to do better than this? So it's becoming harder and harder to find new games that are better than some of the real good classics over the last 5-6 years.
Yeah.
It's just tough.
I mean, even look at Lorenzo Il Magnifico. People forget that that's the design team with the T-Series games. And some of those T-Series games are not hitting. They're not landing very well.
Yeah,
they've gotten more complicated. They've gotten more like overblown. I was just watching a video. I think it was, I love watching Bones Collector, man. Larry is the coolest. Larry and Lori are the coolest people in the world. And they just play Talatum. And he doesn't pull any punches. It's he just like, if they would just pull one mechanism out of this, and guess what he had sitting on the table? He had Lorenzo Il Magnifico. And I was like, he is so exactly right. Lorenzo Il Magnifico is such an elegant design because it's thinky and it's really, really, really good. The way it uses those 3 colored dice, the way that you use your workers based on those dice and the numbers on them. And it just feels like the T-Series games, sometimes there's just one more thing too much, it just feels like. Like Terracotta Army, there was just 1 or 2 or 3, maybe for me, too many more things that should have been in there. It's like these designers need to start pulling it back a little bit. Go back to what you did before, because these older designs are in many ways better. You know, there's a reason. And let me just say this. There's a reason we say age before beauty. You know, there is something attractive about the new hotness, but we all know that beauty fades pretty fast. And so when you're talking about age, the reason we defer to age is because there's wisdom in that. And all of that. And it does seem like that, like even the way the Dice Tower sometimes, I don't mean to name drop, I'm not saying that, but they're the most popular channel out there for the most part with that. But like the way some people talk about older games, it's almost like they're not good enough anymore. And I think this just this show touching 8-10 games proves that that's not necessarily true. It can be true. Sure. And I think they're right in some ways. Certainly. I'm not, that's what I mean. I'm not like bashing them. What I'm saying is you have to be careful though, because we forget where the games we have now are because of those games in many ways. And so I think there's a real good thing to learn from that.
100% agree.
That's why you don't knock the beige.
No,
don't knock Don't knock this. It's just orange and yellow. But it'll rock your world, and it's better than your new game. Get out of here with that.
I think that's going to be
Get out of here with your Terracotta Army.
The thumbnail's going to be Gary going like this with Goa.
There you go.
Maybe we should do a video that like revisits some of the hotness. We should go like maybe in the last 5 years, like where are they now?
We should go like if we go back and say, all right, we're gonna do 2015. What was the hotness in 2015? Top 10 hotness games, right?
Yeah.
And how do they rank today?
Yeah.
Have they held up? And do that for every year, right? Going forward and see how that looks, I think.
Yeah.
You see what's on our table right now, right? You know what box is?
Talatum. Yeah, I saw it back there. Yeah.
And speaking
of literally right here.
Speaking of 2015, you ever played Automania?
No.
That game rocks.
Yeah.
That game is so good. I'm telling you.
I heard it's good, yeah.
It's very good, and it plays really smooth, But fine. We'll do 2015. Whenever we do that, I'll talk about Automania.
There you go, man. All right, so that wraps up our show for today. We hope you guys enjoyed. Links to everybody's channel except for Gary's are down in the show notes. Go subscribe to all of them if you haven't done so yet, and we will see you on the next panel.
All right, we'll see you.